Hi, my name is Patricia Dobbins. I'm an environment artist that specializes in stylized art. I'm doing a breakdown video of my project for Stylized Station. What I hope for you guys to learn from this is how to approach a stylized prop in 5 steps. I would love to give a shout out to Stylized Station for this opportunity. So in this breakdown video, I'm going to explain how I went from this concept art to my final look of my project. I did this in 5 steps, step 1 being prep work and block out, step 2 being high res model, which was done in ZBrush, step 3 being my game res model and UVing, step 4 was texturing, which was done in Substance Painter, and step 5 is my presentation and publishing it on social media. This was done in Sketchfab, Photoshop, and ArtStation. So, the first step in prep work is to find concept art that you gravitate to, since you are going to be working on this for days or even weeks. I was really gravitated towards this after my friend sent me this through Stylized Station's Instagram page. They were showcasing this wonderful concept artist. His art station is going to be shown right now, as well as linked below. I don't want to butcher his name, but please check him out. You might even find your next, inspiration there. The next thing you want to do is picking a style, and the reason why you want to pick the style is because it influences everything in your project, and knowing what style you plan on doing will save you tons of times. It will help you with your reference search, it will help you with your modeling, your high-res modeling, your texturing, as well as your presentation shot. So in here I show you reference from Overwatch and Darksiders. They are both stylized, but they are not at all the same. So in this case, the reason why I do this is because I see this so many times, and I've had this problem as well, is I don't think of a style that I want to do, so I start modeling, start doing my high res, start texturing. Halfway through my texturing I say, I really wanted to do it in this style, and I have to restart my entire project, or you're gonna have to restart your entire project. So this is something you just want to do before you even start modeling, and you want to do before you start collecting your references, so you can start collecting your references for it. In this case, I ended up just doing the style in the way that I saw in the concept. I didn't want to do it based off of any game or game studio, so I didn't have to do any research on style besides the references of this part. So in this part, the references I ended up picking was wooden bookcases and closets that were very, very old and worn down. I also ended up picking up reference for helmets and swords that were in the same color range as my sword and helmet on the concept art. This was just to give me a clear idea of how, metal looks, as well as getting the correct type of bends to the metal. And the wood texturing was a great help having these on hand. The reason why is I could see that the edges were worn down, as well as seeing that there was a variation between the roughness on old wood cases, or wood bookcase, and closets. So after this, I also looked up some YouTube tutorials on stylized wood and metal, just so I could see how other people approach projects that were similar to mine, as well as learning and getting to learn a lot more on stylized work. Every person does stylize a little bit different. There is no wrong or right way of approaching a stylized look, but it is good to learn from other people. You may find something that's quicker for you and does a lot more to your project in less steps. In this case, looking up YouTube tutorials from these people were great. I got a lot of influences from them, and they will be linked down below as well. The next step is completely optional, and that is splitting my project into groups. It keeps myself organized, as well as helps me know what I need to work on and what is done. In this case, I split it up in 3 groups: my metal group, my wood group, and my prop group. After that, I ended up creating a folder which had my project name, which was Closet of a Young Warrior, and in this I created subfolders for my Maya files, my ZBrush files, my OBJs from ZBrush, my FBXs from Maya, my Substance Painter files, my texturing from Substance Painter, my render files, and my reference files. After setting up my folders, the next thing I do is my blockout. So my blockout is mainly focusing on proportion, spacing, and overall getting everything blocked out in my scene. In this case, I had a fabulous concept artist who ended up actually making alternatives designs to his closet before he finally decided on this one. And here he has a incredible front view that helped me have the basic shapes of everything for my closet. I wasn't really focused on, the flag or, the sword or even what was in the middle. I was just trying to get the basic shapes of my closet down. Another tip that I would recommend for you guys who are modeling, are a little bit, hesitant on trying new things for modeling, because I was, think of everything in this scene as shapes, like basic shapes. Rectangles, cylinders, squares, planes. I literally made a plane of this and then I just extruded it out. So in this case, I can show you an example. Some people feel, oh, I need to model this all in one piece. You don't have to model your helmet all in one piece. You can actually just take a sphere, cut it in half, get a cylinder, or in this case, I ended up taking a pipe, extrude one of the faces out. There you go. There, you have a helmet after you smash those pieces together. Um, Modeling doesn't have to be something where, you only have to model from one square. You can build off of your shapes. So in this case, everything is modeled into pieces, and it helps you look at a project in pieces than looking at it as an overall look. The reason why I would recommend doing this for people who are trying out a new modeling The reason why I would recommend doing this is because it can actually end up helping you in the long run when you have a more, daunting piece and you don't know how to go about it. Look at it in shapes, look at it in simple shapes, and build off of that first. And once you get everything together, I'll start to slowly look like it. And you can then, think, oh, maybe I should extrude a face there, move the verts a little bit, and I'll help you out. The next thing I would recommend you guys to do after doing your block out, and even before you even touch the bevel tool, is to get a critique from other artists. This could be done in Facebook groups, Discord groups, any social media. You can even get it from your friends and family who hasn't even touched, a piece of paper in their life to draw anything. The reason why is because sometimes, you don't see something in a project because, you're so occupied and, you're thinking a billion steps ahead, and you don't want to get to the texturing phase and see, oh, that's not how that's supposed to look. It looks completely off. Now I'm looking at it. Now I got to go back and fix it, fix my UVs, fix whatever high res I did, and then now fix my texturing phase. To avoid doing that and avoid, wasting so much time, it's good to get critiques from other artists on the project that you're doing at each iteration of your project. So in this case, I always do a block out, high res, midway point of my texturing to make sure that I'm going in the right direction, and before I present. So I usually do that with my lab instructors who are constantly on Discord. I either do that on the Discord groups, some great links down below I'll be posting. Other places are Facebook groups. They have great communities there, and there's always going to be someone online who is prepared to look at your work and help you out. So after finishing up my final block out, which is right here, the next thing I do is my beveling. Here you can see quite a difference between my block out and my beveled model. I actually did nothing but bevel some parts of this. I do not feel like I needed to bevel everything I had in my scene. Like my sword isn't beveled, the ink pot isn't beveled, and the belt isn't beveled at all. So in some cases, yes, beveling is needed, like in these areas, but in some cases, beveling is not needed. So you just have to figure out for your project how it is. In my case, I knew what needed to be bevel, and also beveling does help me sculpt since it does give me an area where I can create a worn look to the bookcase. So after beveling, I also soften and harden the edges. You can look up tutorials of why it is very, very necessary for you to soften and harden your edges. I would recommend you guys to look into that, but I can just quickly explain quite the huge difference between it. So here I'm just going to grab this and then I'm going to harden my edges. When you bevel something, your edges or your bevels are going to look like this. Softening your bevels or your edges will have this effect on it. After that, I look over my model one more time, save the scene. In this case, I named it Game Res because I ended up actually using this as my Game Res, changing a little bit of things, but I will explain that in part 3, which is the Game Res and Low Res part, as well as UVing. So after checking to see everything is done and after checking my checklist and crossing out everything that I finished, I moved on to essentially preparing my project to go into ZBrush. So the only thing that I really added to the scene that wasn't there beforehand was the flag, and the reason why it's super dense is because I ended up using the soften tool to push this into the bookcase to lay almost naturally. So after adding in the flag, the next step I do is square off my project, specifically the wood and metal group. The reason why I do this is because I feel like it's a lot easier for me to work with the project if it's squared, especially in ZBrush, since I don't like really subdividing or dynameshing my projects. Also, this is essentially how ZBrush works. It does try to square your project as much as it can. So this is what I do. I was taught this in school, and it makes me feel a lot more comfortable working in ZBrush like this. So what I did next was essentially export my wood group, my metal group, and my prop group. If you see here, I do have my project group, and then I have it separated. So the bookcase, I later on ended up separating this in ZBrush, but right now it's just included, and I also included the flag pole to this bookcase wooden part. The reason why I did this, even though I usually have this separate, is because of the fact that the shape of this flag is very much influenced by the bookcase, and it has to lay naturally on this. So when I'm creating the wrinkles to it, like is shown in the concept, I want to make sure that it also works with the model that it's laying on. And then after that, I exported the props out and I put it into a folder specifically named, where I put my bookcase, this group, as bookcase prepared ZBrush and the prop prepared ZBrush. And now I am ready to go into ZBrush and start sculpting